Oh my God.
This is pure insanity. Let me remind you of the stakes right now. This feels like I'm on some sort of Discovery Channel reality show, but it is actually my real life. We have 2.5 weeks until the car gets picked up to go to Michigan. That is a hard deadline. And in those 2 weeks, everything that you see here has to be done. We've gutted the car. What you're about to see that kid is to this point was nuts, but what we hope to accomplish is, by the end of this video, have the whole nasty drag launching, street drivable system all in. It is finally time for the best part of the car to me, which is being able to launch it. And we have the very first part of the 4-link suspension from QA1. They left this part unwelded or unfinished for us to weld. I'm gonna first go ahead and mount this in just to see what it looks like. That's a pretty tight fit. They've got a 14-minute video on how to do this, so we're just copying them. I just grinded all of them. Isaiah just went and grinded this side. I was actually on the top side. That's proper. I'm kind of cracking up because you know that there's weldable primer paint type of stuff. And just based off of knowledge, zinc based. And any of you guys that have welded zinc plating know that that is like a hallucinogenic. And not a good one. There must be something different between galvanized metal and this zinc, because they wouldn't literally sell you something that is like the worst thing for your lungs. But he's gonna spray this on there tonight. Let it cure.
The reason why we're doing this is you can't grind this down and weld something on it and then coat it and think that the behind of it's going to be fine.
All the moisture.
Yeah, water will get behind there and you will have a spot for it to rust. Make sure that this doesn't rust by itself. Then we're gonna spray the back of this and then we're gonna put it back in there, and then you can weld and then you spray it over, so that way everything that's possible could be coated and try not to rust.
We're trying to be adults, mature, and have a very valuable car be even more valuable.
Just real quick, I'm just gonna fuse this inside just because it's not welded well on the outside. Better to weld this than to not weld this. So I'm just gonna do that real quick right before I put this on. Took a reference point off of here, which ends up being about 1 degree there, and then I took a reference point off of this guy. The left side is up 1 degree, so when I put that bar in, I wanted to match that as much as possible. This is exactly 90 degrees on this side, so the shock mount over here is 89 degrees, and that's the best I can do with tweaking everything around. 1 degree off isn't horrible. On this side, 88.8 degrees. We have 88.5 degrees. This guy is 0.7 degrees, so that is the closest I could get with all the moving around. So I'm gonna tack this side in, and then I'm trying to move this one just at 1 degree. I'm using the Multimatic MIG setting on here, and this would be more than enough for what we needed to weld all this stuff in. 3/16 plate. So there's this whole little conversion table right here with how much wire and what gas and whatnot. This point, and I pull the trigger, and it pretty much does the rest.
Isaiah sees my style and tries to copy me. Miller's been telling him to wear this forever.
I MIG welded this so far in Crocs. It all falls, and then my pinky toe hurts now, and it's all burnt, and now one of my good socks is trash, and
he's now part of the car. My favorite part about this is it's 95 degrees. This really kicks this whole project off with a massive bang. This is the Mosier Engineering whole rear assembly. This is essentially, in my opinion, one of the best things that money can buy. And there's really not too many options because this is proven stuff. You either go like a Ford 8.8 or 9-inch solid rear axle, or you do like a Dana 60. And Dana 60s are often used in off-road, so you know that they can handle the torque. This car originally came with a Dana 60, but not our version. They're like 440s, the bigger ones. $4,800 out the door for every option that we have here to make it as modern and beefy as possible.
Wow.
That's a tank.
That's beefy.
3-inch tube, solid axles, and I upgraded the diff. I didn't want a locker, I didn't want a spool, but I wanted limited slip and I wanted helical. It's just so the car is more street drivable as well. But when one wheel starts slipping, the other one digs in. As well as the billet front piece here. So this is a nice forged piece yoke instead of the normal cast iron one. And then I actually extended the car an inch on each side. And that was partially because we're gonna be using RX-7 wheels, and also because I just hate deep dish. It's a controversial opinion, but I just want it wider. The gearing ratio in this is 3.73 to 1, kind of higher end on a piston car. But when you have a 28-inch tire, it kind of all starts adding out. I didn't realize that the QA1 system uses the stock leaf spring perches. And so I said, no, we're good. Well, you need them. Thankfully, they have these on Summit. They have to be welded the right distance, and they have to be welded a little bit on an angle downward. This interlopes with that.
Ooh.
And then the U-joint bolts go over this whole assembly. This being a dream setup where you don't buy it in pieces, you get all of it all at once. That gives us a very rare opportunity to bolt the axles on, which are in here, add the brake calipers, Willwood sent out as well. That really helped big time. And weigh the whole piece, because you know what that is? Unsprung mass. When we weigh the car and counterbalance it, we know exactly in the rear how much unsprung mass we have, and that can help us figure out spring rates and fine tune.
Wow. Those are beefy.
Oh yeah.
That's the AC.
Yeah, that's perfect timing. We could use it. I need the AC unit, so that way I can do all the wiring under the dash without assuming where that is.
Isn't that early?
That is early. That's supposed to be your Tuesday.
There you go.
It's gonna spin, obviously. And of course, I can't do anything simple. I have to complicate it all, because when we ordered the diff, I told them no perches. We need these perches. Hit the QA1 system to the chassis. This is the stock diff. Rule of thumb on Mopars, if this is at 0 degrees, the front of these are actually pointed downward about 7 to 8 degrees. Diff is not centered to the car. Partially because the ring and pinion are off-centered just by nature, but we know that these are centered to the vehicle. Stands for the forelinks are the same distance to the chassis on each side. The thing that throws you off is, look at this. The tunnel is off-centered. And that's because the center part is off-centered, so you can't use this as 0. Okay, it's just drivetrain. The chassis is out here. I did all the hard math, flipped upside down, so this nose is down 7 degrees, 7.5 degrees. These are flat to the earth. They're mounting in the same width as the stock one. The cool part is that we're measuring them to the outer edge. It's 58.5 inches from this face to that face. That makes it very clean, 5 inches from here to here. Keep them at 0 degrees, and we can burn them in. QA1 has saved our ass on both this and the front of the car. We'll get into that one more, but this 4-link, Joel just asked, these are 4 links, but they aren't the only 4. It's technically these 2, and then the other 2 that Isaiah's gonna weld the bases for. But these will ultimately weld in kind of here and here on this one. Isaiah's got these beautifully TIG welded on. Ethan is building the bottom part of the perch that the shock will then attach to. So this shock is double adjustable. So this is compression and rebound separate. So in this car, we're gonna have probably some really soft rebounds so the tires can get to the ground quick as the slick deflates. Those will turn this way, and then these plug in to this piece in the front down here. So you're gonna see Ethan bolt that on. It's gonna wrap around here like a girdle, and then that will connect to both the shock and also the arm here. Once these are welded in, these parts go in, this arm goes in, it allows us to figure out where these are gonna go. Following this line here, those attached to the diff brings the axle somewhere in here. We'll trim as needed to allow the diff to really suck in there, but then we're gonna start running into problems where if we're too good, the tire is now going to hit in the wheel well. We're gonna unbox the Willwoods. The kit is perfect, minus one thing that I changed at the last second. just got a really quick way of doing this. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on backwards. Hold it down like that. Just gently. And then go and make the cut.
Oh, to align it?
Yeah, with it constantly spinning, it's constantly centering it. Me tightening this doesn't apply weird force. Really happy with that. Now let's see if it actually works. That's good first step, good second step, good fucking third step. Hell yeah. That little bit of give, and they all kind of hit at the same time. Still center line. That's incredible. Oh yes. That's what our rear wheel set. This just keeps looking cooler and cooler. And so Isaiah's gotten the two boxes welded in, and you can tell this one's on a crooked angle. That's not Isaiah's doing. The car was literally in like at least 4 accidents, maybe 7 accidents, and that whole area had been re-welded like in the 70s. It's really weird looking. This piece bolts on there. That is nice. It gives you just that little bit. At the end of the day, we'll match this with the chassis true level. Doesn't really fully matter. I understand that, but A, it's aesthetic, and B, it'll rule out things as we make sure that everything is squared to each other. That really comes in handy. That's where it is square in the holes.
Whoa.
Yeah, they give you just enough to deal with the fact this is a 1970s build quality car. That's not going anywhere. Glasses are from Miller. They're for grinding, so it's like a level 4 out of 10. But all I'm seeing are the sparks. And I'll tell you what, I can actually see pretty well out of these. Feels good to protect my eyes a little bit. I am doing the final tighten on this side as well, and I made sure that it lines up with the other side and the chassis to the best of our abilities. Anything more accurate would require like a frame rack and lasers and all that sort of stuff. I do feel very confident. The car's not going to crab walk. It is time to test fit the RX-7 wheels on this car. We added just under an inch to this axle length, and this has an extra inch of offset compared to the wheels that you ideally run on this car. Oh my god.
Close.
Over an inch of clearance. That looks nasty, absolutely nasty. This is a 26-inch tall tire. We're gonna try 28. And so that adds an extra inch all the way around, which again is gonna dictate how high up this goes into the wheel well. We moved the lift out of the way so we can actually get to this. I'm gonna leave it in this bottom one. If you've ever wondered what is a 4-link, it's this and this. Those are the 2 of the 4 links on each side. It's like this marionette thing. It does that. The shocks don't do anything other than shocks, dampen.
Shocking.
Yeah. I want to quit. So I would err on this going in more than less, because alternative is that this whole piece could go further back. Ethan almost stole this moment from all of us because he's such an efficient worker. Sliding these solid axles looks like you're loading a missile into a sub tube. So he's like
Torpedo,
yeah, torpedo going into the.
Oh, she's dripping, so.
Going in. Okay. Slower, slower. Gentle. Yeah, that's cool. So. This is the moment that we're all waiting for. Ethan said he refuses to leave until he sees the final progress of all of our work. We're gonna go ahead and drop the car down, thread in the bolts on this end, just so we get a first idea of what could potentially be the final position of this rear diff. There you go. Right now shows you exactly the point of the top two. We have no pinion control, meaning the whole front of the diff can just go up or down or whatever. That's actually the whole point of these. When they're locked in, they're gonna force the front to stay at a certain angle. We're gonna set the car down even more, and you're gonna watch the wheels kind of come back as this arcs through. Mind you, they're on the shortest heim joint, but they're at the furthest out here, so they're kind of in a middle area of where they should be. They're like a third of the way into the wheel arch. So let's see what happens as it comes down. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, that's perfect right there.
Good. Good. One more. One more? Yep.
Yeah.
There.
Shocks are bottomed
yeah,
out.
shocks are bottomed out. So we're not even close here. God, the fitment though. This is nuts. It's a little bit on that side, so we got a little bit more tire poke on that side than this side, but this is the theoretical lowest the car can go with the shocks bottoming out. QA1 has 3 settings: high, medium, and low for the shocks. And so we've bottomed out the shocks. We got more up to go. We can bring, you know, lower center of gravity, all that sort of stuff, and just look nasty. We're gonna go ahead and move the shocks down to the lowest setting. So this is information we need badly, really quickly. Now you see the 4 links coming together. Here, just get under there and take a real quick look. What we're seeing here is that the pinion is pointed upward. And the problem is our red bars are all the way shortened. So the longer you make them, the more it's gonna bring the pinion up. What we need to do is bring the diff down almost past 0. And then that might allow this area to clear here. And we can notch that anyway. But we still have another 1.5 inches of travel to go. The pinion's on a piece of wood right now. Honestly, just taking that wood out might help solve this problem. So we're gonna do that first. That'll rotate, causing the shocks to gain length. This kit is perfect. The choices are very clear on what we want or don't want to do. Going. Let's pause right there. Shocks have about 1 inch left of travel. I'll go ahead and continue down. And stop. So it's got a nice clean tuck right there. We have now bottomed out the shocks. It'd be kind of foolish for us to just stop there. Maybe we put the shocks to the middle level, just so that way we have choices. But let's look at the car from the side and see how low it looks right now. We just found max low. There's not really much reason to modify like the chassis because the shocks are going to bottom out and the pinion's in a great spot. Those are almost ready to be basically tacked on. Make sure that the upper ones have like 2 spins of lengthening, because then that'll bring them behind the diff a little bit.
This is so straightforward.
That way we have middle of the road everything. So this is current ride height, middle of the shock. That's looking pretty damn good. So this would be cruising down the road, and both sides are roughly that. So what you saw a second ago was max compression. This is maximum wheels off the ground, which is delicious. Yeah. So it would ride lower, but it would be the middle of its travel, so it would actually look nasty mobbing down the street, but also be 100% functional. Fine-tuned it even more, and so we have like the ultimate 4 ears getting ready to be tacked in on the top of the 4-link suspension.
So they actually send these really nice 3D printed for the heim joints. You have a box like this. Heim joint could be like that. You weld it in, your heim joint will hit this before your suspension point. So you kind of fuck it up that way. But so they sent these nice boxes that you put into the mount so that way it straightens the heim joint so that we have the most adjustment for whatever. I'm just gonna tack it with the MIG and then we're gonna pull it out and I'm gonna clean up the MIG and I'm gonna take it. This is some thick metal and I don't trust my MIG welds to be that penetrating. This welder has actually really impressed me even more than I already liked it. I don't really MIG that often, so this is the first chance I got to like MIG, and I'm still not done. I still got a bunch of other stuff to do. But up in the settings, this thing has just been super well-rounded and everything. As far as welder, yeah, DIY welder, you will not outweld this welder for a very long time. This is 1/4 inch thick, and it goes up to, I had it on a 5/8 setting or whatever, and it just tacked and super easy. I don't have to mess with the settings.
This company reached out, called Proven Industries. Their videos on this thing were proof enough for me.
That's big.
It's heavy. I'm not being paid at all for this. It's like a $300 trailer hitch guard. if that helps you convey the weight.
That could have been bad.
Yeah, they wanted to send it to me. I'm like, let me make sure, because you guys are going to see it. I was watching the video and we were both like, oh, they're not going hard on it. And they went hard on their own thing, and this would be a pain in the ass to try and get off. So like, hopefully I never lose the key. Goes in the ball hitch and then all the way around it. And the lock is also just a pain in the ass to get to. Goes on like that. And it just looks like a pain in the ass. That's all it looks like to me. It's like if I lose the keys, I'm screwed. While the guys are gone, this is the weekend giving me the chance to catch up and get ahead of everybody else, because we're all hauling ass trying to do as much as we absolutely can. Kind of back to OG sort of setup. It's just me, all this stuff, and a massive workload ahead of me. I have something that I have never, ever thought about, done, have experience with in any of my builds, and this is particularly because this build is not just for me. And so I bought the internals of a Restomod air conditioning system. The reason that this matters now is not for performance, not to get air conditioning working, but because it goes right in the center of this space right here. And so I need to make sure that all the wiring harnesses that I make that go through the body plan for having the air conditioning power and all the controls and all that sort of weird shit, but also can get around it. Clutch pedals, but gas pedal, going to the front of the car, ABS sensors, all that stuff. You can't just run it and just assume one way or another. So it really messes up my running lengths for everything going to the front of the car. And of course, the hoses, and when we go to put the engine into the car, making sure that we know where they're all coming in and going out of the firewalls. This box is, I think, like $1,100, $1,200, so it's a rather expensive adjustment to the project plan, but I think it'll be worth it, especially right now when I'm in 100-degree weather. I love my hose ducting to get the air from that unit right there to different parts of the car. So importantly enough, this kit is meant for this car. So it's got the vents. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this right now, getting rid of relays. Not only does this unit control the AC, it also controls the heat. On the back of the motor, we have this line here and this line here, and those are literally meant, excuse me, this is a very technical section, just wants more pets. So this is literally going to go in and out to this box here. So that is very alien looking. Those look like high pressure lines. There's actually a valve on this thing, so it doesn't let the hot water coming from the radiator, pauses it, and doesn't let it go into the passenger compartment, because you'd have a radiator inside your car and it would naturally get hotter. So you have a check valve or a stop valve that we also have to wire into the harness to prevent it from heating up the car, even if the fans aren't on. A very important part of this is that we have the Challenger with the Rally dash, and so I want to make sure that it fits into a stock location, and that's what must be inside of this, other than Vintage Air putting their name on this. That looks pretty old. That one's bent, so it already looks authentically broken. This is what ties it all together. They do get rid of the stock locations, which are over here, and they put it all through this wild looking, almost rotary shaped thing. It's gonna block off a lot. Another 100-degree day. That said, we've got a lot of work to do. We got those ears tacked in. I am very impressed with the whole kit, but this gives us a rare opportunity to weigh all of our unsprung mass right now. So whatever this thing weighs, we take that out of the equation when we look at the rear weight of the car when it's all loaded. I'm gonna say 400.
Like 417. Oh shit. 515.
Okay.
520. They almost guessed it the first time, almost exactly. You should have stuck with your first guess. Did you re-guess?
Yeah, he did. He said 5
No, I
something.
didn't.
Oh, okay, he did. He said he didn't re-guess. It was like 410,
Oh really?
but it's 397 right now. Wait, I said 400. 397, so we'll just say 400 pounds even.
That's not bad.
No, it's very simple math too. go to like a coilover setup. And so that'll put a lot more stress on this area that was never meant for that. That was originally the torsion bar down there. Now we're gonna have upper control arms there. The springs actually come up and hold on with the QA1s thing. So technically it comes from down here, but structural rigidity is very important. So we have 4 pieces that will go in here.
So there's this one right here, then there's a support right here, and a support on this side, and there's this big piece that comes over and welds to here. So what I was asking Rob, is since this is not lining up properly, I can make this line up. It just takes a lot of work and time, but based off of this picture, it doesn't make sense to weld the inside of that because none of that actually lines up properly. It's just still going to be pretty strong when everything's all welded together because there's this all supported with this big piece. When I was really looking at this, so weak, I could weld the underside of this and it'll be a lot stronger. Then Ethan's like, wait, I have something for you. Come look at this side, all right?
This thing,
Nice.
bro, that's amazing.
All the spot welds on the inside, they folded under pressure, literally.
That's good for 1,000 horsepower.
I know, right?
So all these reinforcement pieces are well needed. Even tacking the middle channels in help move the car because we were able to lift up one corner and move it, and only one corner would move. And lifting up the sides to try to move to get the lift to different places, lifted the whole half of the car with those channels just tacked in.
There's actually measurements. You hold the chassis here, here, and here, and then put a certain amount of force, and you're only allowed a certain amount of bend. And this chassis would fail 10 times out of 10 on any sort of modern structural rigidity. I know we say this every so often, and dick jokes and whatnot never get old to me. This is definitely the epitome of you and the guy she told you not to worry about. You look like equals on the outside, and he's just got all the right moves. This is just an incredible difference. No expense spared, keep Erica safe, have all the best things to get the car to track straight with this amount of power, with this short amount of time frame. We've got the Willwoods, you've got Weld, Mickey Thompson, Mosier, QA1s, not only their 4-link, but also their double adjustable shocks. It's just the dream if you ever owned a muscle car. We get to bolt it back up in there, and sadly we never get to see it A, look this clean, or B, just look this isolated and beautiful as a piece of art before it goes back into the car. This is currently max rebound, so the maximum droop that these tires can now do. We're putting weight onto the front of the car because we're gonna let that thing down and show it in its full power. This is basic for many of you, but for me, this is a very exciting moment of seeing 4-link geometry working and keeping that pinion, the front of the diff, in a straight line.
Oh my god! Locked. It's like when you're riding on the street, you know?
Because like a solid, you're not going to have camber, you're not going to have towing. It's just like, we have the shocks at complete open. So both compression and rebound. This is how impressive two-way shocks are, is that you're literally controlling one direction. So all I'm doing is I'm turning the R button all the way to max. This phenomena is called weight jacking. It's when you're hitting tons of bumps on a road course and it keeps bringing it down, but it doesn't have enough time to bring it back up, the car will actually sink itself to the ground. And look at that. I pushed it down and it just stayed down. So,
Whoa.
so all I'm doing is I'm just pushing it down and it keeps going down. So it's gonna take forever to come back. So
That's sick.
Hey, if I lift it up, will it rebound?
it'll wait, yeah, it'll delay. So watch, lift it up. See? It's very slow. Yeah, see that? Oh yeah, now set it back down. I want to see it again. I'll do it one big push. Double adjustable shocks is incredible when you know what to do with it. If you don't, stick with single adjustables. Ignorance is bliss. Don't get into that world. But for winning a drag race, absolutely 100% necessary. I want you to see this. That diff is just, Jesus, That's not what I meant. It is just pointed straight forward.
Wow.
That's our very first 4-link setup, and it is one hell of a setup. With the car sitting right here, 2.9, it's like within 1/8 of an inch. Very happy with that. Here's 4.8 inches off quite a bit. Like, the car's rocked side to side. That is only because the spring perches aren't set up equally, because we just got this on the ground. So the heights are different because one spring is loaded and the other one isn't. So out of all those tests that we were just doing, this is the only way that we can figure this car out now. Front control arms, no matter how many accidents this damn thing's been in, I'm looking at the face of the wheel. So I'm going until this thing hits the face of the wheel right there. And we're looking at 18 inches from this point on the chassis. Now that's 18 inches and whatever. It's just a point that's consistent. And so I'm gonna do it again, maybe 18 and an eighth. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And if those numbers are different, that means the car can crab walk, because the whole front chassis is the other set of wheels. That's the only other thing that really matters other than visuals. So we're at about 19 and a half, which is what I was expecting with that 18. In this case, the rear would come towards me. If you look at the rear wheels, they would be like this. You can't physically see this. This is extreme example. You barely be able to tell this until you're at 1,000 horsepower and on an actual drag strip. First of all, we have to get the springs to the correct spot. The car has to be square to something, and I would rather trust all 4 wheels working with each other than anything else. Easy fix, and we've got a squared out car ready to drag race. That's a 4-link in a day. Now it's time to get the rest of the drivetrain. We're talking transmission, we're talking engine, we're talking interior, we're talking computers, probably in that order too. These videos are just gonna be just right to the point, very, very condensed, so enjoy.